Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.
All right, very welcome along to this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. Johnny Ward is back in studio. Johnny, how are you?
What's going on, Ger?
You've been cycling around the world?
Cycling around a bit of Mallorca, but yeah, some crack.
You survived?
Yeah, it was funny because I was actually out, just went up to kind of Crua Hill there, which would be kind of well known to, it's just between Rathfarnham and the Wicklow Gap, I suppose. So did a short spin there, and there was a cycling couple out, like not Irish, and one thing that I noticed when I was away was how many women were cycling. It was so cool, and they were really strong, like, and this couple, just, it was like you were back on holidays, because you don't get that many cycling tourists around Ireland in, what is it, November nearly, and it was one of those mornings when you notice the leaves on the road, and I've just gotten enough experiences from talking to other people that when you're descending on slippy roads with leaves, you really got to be careful, like, so. But yeah, it was nice to be back up there.
Very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about racing. We are going to have a guest who is celebrating this week after winning the apprentice title in a couple of minutes with you. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about Down Royal and what's going on this week, because this is their marquee week of the year, really, isn't it?
It is indeed. Just watching the conclusion of the 255 here, which is handicap hurling. We've already had some very good action today. This is the Down Royal's flagship meeting, and has become a really, really strong meeting, helped by Paul Nicholls in many respects, coming over and targeting a couple of big races on the Saturday. I suppose the only feature of it is that Willie Mullins doesn't tend to send out his big guns just yet, but Gordon Elliott is particularly strong, and we've obviously Frodon taking on Manila Indo tomorrow. It's going to be a cracker, yeah.
Yeah. Why did Paul Nicholls target it? Because it's obviously gone back years. Is it 7 out of the last 8 or 6 out of the last 7? His record is fairly sensational.
Yeah, so there's a race for second season novices, sophomore chasers, if you want to call them that, and then there's a race for the senior chasers, and Paul Nicholls would have brought over the likes of Kodo Star and some really good horses. I suppose it was kind of targeting prize money, and the race fitted in well this time of year. Probably not that complex to get to. I'm thinking to get from the boat from England. Down Royal mightn't be the hardest place to get to, but it just made sense, and he just won the race a lot as well.
So if you are, obviously these are Cheltenham horses that we're talking about, if you're targeting, this is a good time of the year to make sure that everything is well. You get them to a base level now, get the competition into them, and then you maintain between now and March.
Yeah, like I'd imagine the training. I'm not a trainer, but like it wouldn't be so much maintaining. They'd be fit for this race, but they'd be eased off again then until they'd have a target probably at Christmas, and then the main target obviously being Cheltenham. But I guess that's interval training. You can ease off with a view to Cheltenham. But these races are, magnificent in their own right. It used to be the J and Wine chase. I think it's now Ladbroke sponsor it. Some brilliant finishes. Even Road for Respect winning it twice. Last year we had a great race as well, and obviously Down Royal having a crowd back. Down Royal is a fantastic race course.
I was going to ask you about that. Is there something specific about the track as well that brings?
It's just really atmospheric. Like, right. It's racing's weird in Ireland. Some tracks, and I've spoken about this a lot, some tracks the crowd doesn't really get involved anymore, and I don't really know why. Down Royal is definitely an exception in that regard. The crowd, you feel a vibrancy there. A lot of people are enjoying themselves. They make it a proper day out, but they'll cheer home a winner as well. Fairly vibrant betting ring as well, and the betting ring is facing big challenges going forward. Down Royal is kind of something of an anachronism in that regard, that it's a throwback to the old days when people had a bet at the track and cheered home a winner. Some people go racing and don't do either of those two now. Okay.
In the context of the race tomorrow, what do you expect to happen? And talk to us a little bit about what happened during the week with Gordon Elliott and his jockeys.
Yeah, this is very interesting. There are a lot of jockey kind of stories in the race tomorrow, even though we have only 5 runners. And initially Manila Indo, who obviously won the Gold Cup with Jack Kennedy aboard him last year. Henry de Bromhead had been saying all along, Jack Kennedy will be riding him, and Rachel Blackmore. So 2 lady jockeys come into the fray here. In that late, Rachel Blackmore was coming back this week, but she wasn't supposed to be riding for Henry de Bromhead on Manila Indo, because that's just how it is. Jack Kennedy's keeping the ride. Bryony Frost, who's obviously been in the news in a really messy and arguably unsatisfactory kind of BHA investigation into claims of bullying in the weighing room. she's obviously been in the news. She's riding Frodon, the horse that's completely associated with her more than any other. But then Gordon Elliott just said this week, no, actually, Jack Kennedy's riding Delta Work. I'm his boss. If he doesn't want to ride my horses in races like this, what's the whole point? Davy Russell then was jocked off Envoi Alain, and Jack Kennedy, I think, rather professionally just said, listen, that's racing. So Davy Russell's riding Galvin, who's not without a chance in the race. Jack Kennedy would have probably liked to be on Manila Indo, who's the hot favourite, but is on Delta Work, who actually is even though he's 10-1, I think is a very realistic chance to the race. And Rachel Blackmore, the whole I suppose the jockey musical chairs, such as it is happily back a couple of days, and she's straight away riding Manila Indo and Envoi Alain, so she's pretty happy with life at the moment. And Envoi Alain, of course, is only at Henry de Bromheads because of the whole Gordon Elliott thing from last year.
Alright, so
there's a lot going on there. And Bryony Frost, it'll be interesting to see what reaction she gets if she wins the race, because it was just her claims against the other jockey, Robert Dunn, were the BHA came up with a kind of a finding that wasn't very satisfactory. And Richie Forrest had a great article this week where he said that I think this is quite important as well, because racing's had a lot of negative things thrown at it in recent times, be it drugs or the Gordon Elliott stuff or whatever. But Richie Forrest's article, he's the Irish editor of the Racing Post, he said, I have a daughter who aspires to be a jockey, and I don't really want her to be a jockey, but one thing that I would never be concerned about is the weighing room. And I came through that weighing room, and I do not believe that it's a cold place for female riders and so on. I think that piece is well worth reading, and it was just an unsatisfactory whole aspect of the last few months.
We might get into that again at some point, because I'm delighted to say we do have Dylan Browne McMonagle with us this afternoon, live in glorious Technicolor from Dundalk. Dylan, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. You've got 3 rides this evening in Dundalk, and you've just arrived, so we're giving you a second to catch your breath here. But tomorrow is a big day, really, from the family's perspective. It's when you're officially crowned champion apprentice jockey at Naas Racecourse tomorrow. So what have you got planned for tomorrow? Who's coming?
It's actually on Sunday. We have tomorrow off, and it's on Sunday at Naas, but the whole family's coming, so there'll be plenty of support there anyway.
And this is the official end of the season. You've kind of known that you were going to win this for a couple of weeks, I suspect. So at what point do you properly celebrate it? Did you celebrate it when you knew that it was in the bag, or will it actually be tomorrow or Sunday? Will it actually be Sunday when the family are there for the official? I don't know, what do you get? Do you get a certain colour silk or a banner? What's the actual thing that you get when you're named champion apprentice?
Trophy to ourselves, and then we obviously get the annual trophy itself that the champion apprentice gets every year with their name on it. All the history goes back for many years, I'm sure, with all the big names on it.
And so how do you expect to feel when you lift the trophy then?
Sure, it'd be great. It's definitely the highlight of the year, and I'll be in champion apprentice. It's something all apprentices look forward to, going in every year and have a good rattle at it, and to be coming out on top in a very competitive group of apprentices this last few years. It's been great, so I'm just delighted.
When you look back on the season, is there a point where you think, actually, you know what, I've got a chance here, this could happen for me?
Well, sure, I got off to a great start anyway. I got loads of support off loads of different trainers, and my boss Joseph's obviously been great, and everything seemed to just snowball from the very start, and I've been going well all season, and thank God it's continued, and I've had a good couple of weeks this last few weeks riding plenty of winners, so I'm just very grateful for all the support as well.
You've just looking at your stats there, Dylan, your percentages have been very solid from the get-go. 435 rides in 2021, that's some going for a rider of your age.
Yeah, it's been very good, in fairness. As he says, I got loads of support off loads of different trainers, and I've been riding for a wide variety of people, and I just can't thank them enough for giving me the legs up. And if you're not on the right horse, you can't win. So that's definitely, you need to be riding for plenty of different trainers and plenty of big names. I've got loads of support off Pat Martin, Joseph, obviously, Eddie Lynham. The name goes on. I could sit here all day and list them off, and I've rode loads of winners for different people, so it's been great. And
second comes right after first, that famous line in that Simpsons episode where they talk to the second man on the moon. But you've had 33 seconds last season to 34 wins. This season, 51 seconds to 52 wins, so it's almost identical. Have you improved as a rider in those 12 months?
Yeah, I'm sure I have. you gain plenty of experience every day when you're riding against very competitive riders. Ireland is a very competitive weigh room, and there's loads and loads of great riders in it. So you have to be at the top of your game. And as every day comes on, you learn something new, which is very important. And you just need to take it all on board and try and improve every day. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And as you lose your claim as well, you just need to keep up in the game and getting better. And you need to show that once you get to the level where you need to be riding against professionals without your claim. So it's very important that you be learning plenty every day and getting better.
I think it's very like I don't know if I know you're a boxer. I don't know if you're a soccer fan, Dylan, are you?
No, I wouldn't be a massive soccer fan at all.
Gaelic games?
No, I'd watch it if it was on, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. I'd be more into the racing just and boxing and stuff. But if I was lying in there in the evenings and the football was on, I'd have no bother watching it either. Okay, well, so the analogy I'd make is that Dylan and the likes of Mikey and all those kind of very good apprentices, they are the Troy Parrott and the Adamidas and the Conor Ronans and the I suppose Malumbys that came through the Irish under-21s, but the step up is not easy, and that's been shown for Kenny's kids and so forth. What's that like in your head at this stage, Dylan? Because you've achieved so much so early from your pony days. You came through, I believe you're a very accomplished young boxer as well. You're cantering to the apprentice's title. But I guess, I'm sure you've heard lots of stories from wiser men than me that a lot of apprentices just faded away, and it doesn't come easy in the senior ranks. Yeah, that's for sure. Especially when you go through your claim very quick, it gets very tough very fast, and you just, like I said before, you just need to keep improving, learn every day and get better, and by the time your claim's done, you want to be level with the professionals, and you just have to try and be better than them to succeed and keep getting better. But it is tough. There's loads of competition in the weigh room, and when you have the likes of Declan McDonough, Shane Cross, Mikey Sheehy in the yard with you as well, they keep you on the ball, and you have to be riding well every day. And sure, it's great. It's obviously very competitive, but you just have to keep your head down and try and do things that they're not doing and get better than them. But they definitely keep you on your toes.
It's just worth pointing out this year that if Troy Parrott plays for the Ireland seniors, he doesn't get any advantage over any other senior player. But just the claim. The jockey's claim for me is one of the coolest anomalies I think about racing. For people listening in who don't really follow racing, can you just explain, Dylan, how that has helped you and how it works from the £10 to nothing, and what's that progress, what's that road like? Can you explain to people who don't know racing what it's all about?
Yeah, well, sure. When you start off, you get a £10 claim. It just allows you, it's like a weight advantage against the rest, so you're able to claim £10 off the horse, which is obviously a massive advantage. And when you come through like the pony racing ranks and you have a little advantage over the rest of them who hasn't done it before, and you're able to ride a race, push one out, do whatever the rest isn't able to do when they start off, it makes it a lot easier. That's where pony racing comes in hand and stuff. It's a massive help when you come onto the track. You obviously know what's going on around you and stuff, and you're a little step ahead of the rest, but you start off with 10, and if you get off to a good start, you only have 3 winners in your £10 claim, so when they go, you should be going fairly fast. And before you once you ride your first winner, everyone realises £10 is a massive advantage, so they're obviously going to give you legs up and give you plenty of opportunities, and you just have to take them. And once you ride 3, then you're down to 7, and I think you have like 37 winners on the £7 claim, and then the more winners you ride, the less it gets, and you just have to keep up in the game and get better. But it's definitely a massive advantage when you, from a trainer's perspective, if you look at handicaps there with horses with 10 stone, whatever they have on them, if you're claiming £10 off them and you have a good apprentice that's able to hold their own as professionals, obviously not as good, but when you're able to hold your own, it's obviously a massive advantage to take the claim off the horse. But trainers would explain that a lot better than I would.
No, I think you've done it perfectly, yeah.
And so just to explain that to another question, what stage are you at, and when do you actually officially stop becoming or being an apprentice?
I only have 4 winners left in my apprenticeship, so once I ride 4 more winners, that's my claim gone, and then I'm fully fledged professional, and so I just have 4 left in my claim now.
Right. Okay. And what do you think is going to happen the night you ride your claim out? Is that like is it like becoming a made man in the mafia type thing where, there's a big celebration and it's very quiet? Or is it like, uh-oh? How will you feel when that happens?
It's no real celebration at all. When the time comes, you just have to kind of turn into a man from a boy. So that's just the way it is. Everyone aims to lose a claim, and you'd like to hope so. And just it's the most important part then, from when you lose your claim, to step up into the next grade. You have to just show that you're capable of riding against the professionals.
Becoming from a boy to a man, like I don't think anyone could put it better, because the whole concept of the jockey then changes as well, Jerry, in that there's a buzz about this lads or lassie since they were claiming all along. It's like, oh, she's great value for her £7, he's great value for his £3. And then you see his name in the race card. There's no brackets after it anymore. There's no £3. And if you watch handicaps at Dundalk, for example, as Dylan will tell you, you'll often have races where like there's a short head, a neck. That's just the first 4 home. And in theory, if racing works at all in terms of the weights kind of system, that's all down to the claim. So once Dylan loses that claim, this is the thing. It's you have to embrace it, but that's when the challenge starts as well, Dylan, isn't it? Because people look at you differently regardless whether you like it or not.
100%. You start off the bottom of the barrel again. Not even at the bottom of the barrel, but you're at the bottom of the list, and you just have to work your way up and show that you're capable of riding against the best. But it's obviously going to be very, very tough. And you just have to keep getting the support, which I've been very grateful. I've got loads of it. So if the support keeps coming and you stay on the horses, there's no reason why you shouldn't. But you just have to work hard and keep the head down and just getting better.
Can I ask what might be another stupid question? Am I right in saying that you only get to claim in handicaps, that you don't get to claim in group races?
No, you can claim in, you can claim in maidens as well. Then once you get to the pattern class races, you can't. And it's always a sign of a jockey that when, I suppose, Dylan, when you're put up in those races and you're not able to claim, that's a sign that the trainer doesn't actually value your claim as much as maybe others might.
Exactly. And Joseph seems to put us up in plenty of list races and group classes. So it's a massive help as well, and it's a different level when you step into those classes, like stakes races, group races, whatever else there is. But it's definitely a massive advantage having the claim, and when it's gone, like you said, you just have to step up the level.
It sounds like you're ready for it though, because you did actually win a group race back in April. It was at Navan in the Vintage Crop Stakes, and it was on a Joseph O'Brien trained horse, and it was Baron Samedi. For you, I suspect that's being put up on that is a massive confidence boost. It as Johnny says, then you're not just there for your claim, clearly, and obviously you know that, and you've got a great relationship obviously before that, but there's a real like, okay, you're ready for this now, and then you go and win it. So is there a special kind of feeling when you win one of those races where you're like, I didn't even need a claim?
Yeah, well, it was unbelievable, and it's a great experience to be riding in those kind of races. You learn plenty in them. I partnered up a great partnership with Lech Racing this year, with Lawrence and Chris and the whole team. The owners of Baron Samedi, Grandmaster Flash. They've a few horses in with Joseph, and I've been riding them all year, and I've just got great support from day one off them. I think I've won 5 on Baron Samedi, and he's been very, very lucky, and I'm just delighted I got to keep the ride on him. I got to ride him in the St. Ledger this year as well, which was unbelievable, and they're the races you want to be riding in, and you can't get much bigger than that, so I can't ask for much more.
Is this when you pinch yourself when you look at it like that? Whenever I go to my cousins in America and my cousin brings me to the racetrack, he more or less backs Johnny V blindly, John Velasquez, and you look at Baron Samedi's Racing Post history, and it's like, Longchamp last year ridden by Mikhail Barcelona. This year ridden by Dylan Browne McMonagle. Following race wins again under John Velasquez, who must be well into his 50s now. And you're just bang in the middle of them, winning on him, and when he's a 20-1 shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. I got to ride him in Ascot as well in the Long Distance Cup, which was massive. And just I can't thank the owners and trainers enough for giving me these opportunities, and to be over riding in those big days, it's massive. It's massive help, and it's a great experience.
What do you learn afterwards when you think like, well, that was interesting, I saw stuff there that I haven't seen before? Is there anything specific that you can put your finger on?
just race riding and being more on the ball. They're really good horses that you could be going a lot faster. Things happen very quick, and you just have to be very switched on. And when the race is over, you realise that this happened, that happened, and for the next time you'd be more on the ball. You're not going to be off the ball, so you need to be on the ball.
You're wrong. You're waiting to do that pun all day, have you?
No, I haven't. But you have to just learn from what's going around you and make sure you're aware with everything. But it's obviously great. The crowds will be there. It's loads of different things you could name off, but it's just the race riding itself. You just need to be very aware of what's going on around you and learn from it, what goes on and what happens, and look back. So you're riding with the best jockeys in the world. So if you can't learn from them, you're wasting your time.
And how important is confidence, and how much confidence do you get from a win like that?
Sure, it's great. You're only as good as your last winner in this game, and when you're riding winners, you obviously things happen for you really easy. Trying not to make things happen in races is a big help. You just have to let it happen, and when you're riding with confidence, things seem to really go your way. So it's definitely a massive help.
Is there a good chance that you take a step backwards just from the very fact that you won't have your claim for most of next season, and that your numbers might be a little bit down, but that it's possible you're still progressing? Is that something built into your thinking, or are you not even thinking like that at all? Next year you want more winners than you had this year automatically?
Yeah, well, if I had the same amount of winners this year or next year as I had this year, it would be massive. But sure, it's going to be another level and another step up. So if I had the same amount of rides and winners, I'd be very, very happy. It's been a great season, and things have gone really well. So at least it's something to aim for. It mightn't be as easy without the claim, obviously, but aim big and try and beat last year's targets, which would be massive, especially without a claim. But we'll give it a go and see how we get on.
How will the dynamic work in the yard then? Because you name check those jockeys, Shane and Declan McDonough and so forth, and there's, I don't know if there's a hierarchy in Joseph's, but obviously different rides go to different riders, and when that claim is gone into next season, you know that Joseph put faith in you from a very early stage. He probably almost picked you at the behest of others because he valued your quality or whatever, and the boy becomes a man then, and you're fighting for rides against these senior riders, and I guess you still have to all get on.
That's it, exactly. We all get on very well, in fairness, and we help each other along, and you learn plenty from riding. Like, we be riding work with each other nearly every day, and you learn plenty watching the likes of Declan and Shane and Mikey as well, and we're always taking things from each other and helping each other along the way. But it's a massive team down there, and it's people around you that helps you, from the ground staff to the travelling lads to Fazil, the boss, Mark Power. There's so many people, all the people that ride work that's on the ground, and Joseph himself. It's a massive team, and there's loads of support around us, so we're very, very grateful for that.
Just one other thing, Dylan. Before you came on, I did speak about the investigation into the weighing room in Britain, and I don't know if you read Richie Forrest's article on it, but I'd like to ask you your perspective, because I think, like, from a personal perspective, I guess it's the equivalent of sort of starting secondary school, and if you meet the Leaving Cert lads, like, they might give you a bit of a rough time, because it's an initiation process, I suppose, in secondary school, and you have to grow up or whatever. But what was it like for you as a kid in the weighing room? You're going in riding against lads in their late 40s, early 50s, proper professionals. You're riding against girls as well, who have to come into an environment that's male dominated. But did you find that it was a good place to kind of get your education, to grow up? And did you find that people in general are fair to you and they look after you?
For sure. Everyone's very fair, and if somebody gets onto you for something, it's obviously for a reason, and you just have to take it on board and learn from it. The older lads are very, very good in the way, and they give you loads of advice and support, and they make sure and tell you if you're right, if you're doing things right and wrong, and you just have to learn from it. But that's it, exactly. There's obviously loads of great riders in there, and when they tell you something, they're not usually giving it on to you, they're just trying to help. So it's a massive thing. You just have to take it on board and listen to them.
Do you talk to Joseph much about riding style and how to behave in the middle of a race, or is it more about what the expectation is from the actual horse itself?
Yeah, that's it exactly. Just we would do him every day of the week when we're racing, and we just give him. He gives us the instructions, and we tell him what we think, and it's fairly simple. So it's very straightforward.
So from a style perspective, who do you talk to, or do you talk to anybody about that? It kind of, because we had you on before, and you talked about before coming through ponies, and it's clear you mentioned it again today, and you've had help from, some of the best jockeys in the world have given you advice along the way, and Tony McCoy. Did anybody ever sit down to you and say, your style here is excellent, you need to work on this, or has that all been feel yourself that you've kind of developed and evolved?
Yeah, well, you obviously need to know when you're making mistakes and when you're doing things right, and you should be on the ball enough to know things are happening and learn from them. But I've great support from loads of different people. My family at home, everyone since I was a very young age, I've been taught all the right things, and it's a massive help when you have people there to tell you when you're doing things wrong, so you can improve in it. And when your boss is Joseph O'Brien, you can't get much better than that. As a jockey coach, he's rode all around the world, and he knows every ins and outs of it all. My agent Kevin Ryan as well, he always does a great job getting me loads of rides. And he's another man that tells you when you're doing things right and wrong, and you need those people around you to correct you to get better, obviously.
Well, because that's the bit that keeps your feet on the ground. Not that in this industry it would be hard not to, given how often you end up losing, because that's the sport. But it also, particularly the flat game, is littered with people who have gone off the tracks at various stages. It sounds like you're fairly desperate to get better on a day-by-day basis, and that's the thing that keeps you focused.
For sure. You have to be like that. It's a very tough game, and you have to be at the top of your level every day when you're riding, and like you said, when you're surrounded by good people, you usually stay on the right tracks, and they keep you on the right tracks. But you have to know yourself, the lines you have to stay straight on and whatnot. But it's definitely, having plenty of good people around you is definitely a massive help.
Are you conscious of the prevailing thought, as expressed by Dermot Well last year anyway, that this is a golden generation of young riders? Because you don't know any different, I guess. But you mentioned some of the riders like the Shees, like the Crosses, yourself, and do you stand up and take notice when Dermot Well, I think Ger Lyons said the same, when you've two such experienced legends of the game, really, to say that even in their perspective this is a proper crop of riders. That must give you a lot of confidence as well, because you're at the top of the tree at the moment.
Yeah, well, it is very good, in fairness. And when the likes of them give you rides, it's a great boost. And you're obviously riding very, very good horses, which makes our job a lot easier. But you just have to keep on top of your ball and impress them when you can. You obviously can't win all the time, and you lose more than you win, obviously, but when you have good big names behind you and they're supporting you all the time, it's massive. It's massive.
Is it intimidating at all to ride for people like that? Where, from my experience, jockeys are very, very. If you meet them before a race, they're really mannerly, and they want to impress the connections in general. They want to get the ride again if the horse is any good, obviously. But were you ever kind of afraid of that aspect of it, or did you just grow into it?
No, you treat every trainer the same, every horse the same. That's the way I do it. Anyway, there's no difference. If a trainer had 10 horses or they had 100 horses, you have to treat them all the same. With the same respect, and they're giving you every, just look at the likes of Pat Martin this year. He mightn't have that many horses in there, but he's given me loads of opportunities, and we've got our results this year. And then you look at the likes of Joseph with loads of horses, and I've had plenty of winners for him as well. And Mr. Wild, obviously, he's given me plenty of opportunities as well. But the smaller trainers is every bit as important as the big trainers, and there's not much of a difference at all. You're still riding the one horse for the one man, and and different owners, but you just have to try and keep everyone happy.
I was going to say that was like one of the most profound things we'd ever heard in Friday Night Racing, but then you went from Pat Martin and Joseph O'Brien to Mr. Weld. So then the legend still has a bit of a clamour.
For sure.
I think everybody calls him that, don't they?
I think they do. The first time I rang him, it was for the Tuam Herald. Jim Carney, who was a Gaelic Games commentator long before your time, Dylan, and he said to me, "Now you know the racing, like the racing MO is to call them Mister," and I called him Mr. Well the whole way, and I just thought it was really, really odd, but he didn't tell me not to, so I just continued to call him Mr. Well.
To this day,
that, I don't know, that power holds, but in fairness, what Dylan says, that's a beautiful thing to say, and you don't get that in life, where I'll treat you the same as anyone else regardless of what your stature or success is. And I think if you hold on to that, Dylan, you'll go a long way.
Thank you.
are you on holidays now? Is that what happens here? Like kick up, kick off, go out, go away, have a bit of crack, eat as much food as you want for the next while? Or is there an off season properly for you at all, or no?
No, not really. When this last season ends, we have the dock to focus on, and it's the same thing. There's still yearlings coming in now, and it's going to be very busy over the next couple of weeks getting them in and get them right and whatnot. So we're very busy at home, which is very good. It gives us plenty to do and stuff. But
Will you get a break at all at any point, just to kind of sit back and relax and go, geez, that wasn't bad?
yeah, well, sure. Christmas comes and I might go home for a week or two and have time with the family. I haven't seen them in a while now, so I'm not that close from home when I'm down in Kilkenny. I'm a good bit away, so I don't get up there too often. And when I do go home, I'd take a week or two off and go around and spend plenty of time with everyone. So I'll be looking forward to that as well.
All right, a question from one of our viewers on YouTube wants to know, what's scarier, getting punched in the face as a boxer or riding a frisky horse? That comes in from Ronnie.
Not sure. You get plenty of frisky horses, but I'm not really afraid of both of them, to be honest. When you're in boxing, you have to expect to get hit in the face. You obviously don't want to, but they come at you, and that's part of the game. It's part of the game on both sides. You have to ride the frisky horses, and you get punched in the face. But
that's the point of it, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Dylan, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Congratulations on putting together a great season.
Thanks very much.
Congrats, Dylan. Congrats.
Thank you.
It's one of the group who are going to drive each other to higher and higher levels of success.
It's just that, I don't know, like the old story of when the two lads are up on the sideline watching their local team play in a league game or whatever in club, and some lad comes on and he's clearly put on a bit of weight, and he doesn't look in great nick, but he's been brought on to try to do something the last 10 minutes, and the outlet says to the other outlet, like, geez, he was a great miner. And that player who, for whatever reason, he didn't kick on at senior. There are millions of jockeys literally that just didn't kick on from the real promise of their apprentice days, and it happens for various reasons. I think there are a lot of apprentices, and there isn't that, the pie isn't big enough for them all to really succeed. So I think any apprentice who's really promising, I think you have to have that caveat of the knowledge of what's gone before. Most don't really make it in terms of what it looked like they would do, and it's the physical progression in that Dylan was almost, I don't want to say ready-made, but when he would have ridden at the track, a bit like Jack Kennedy. When Jack Kennedy's first ride at the track, I'll always remember, was on a hot favourite. You don't get that very often. But Dylan's reputation from the pony circuit meant that he was expected straight away to more or less know and show that he knew what he was doing. And physically, there are parallels with Johnny Murtagh here, who's obviously one of the best guests I think we've had ever on the show. But Johnny Murtagh was a very, very accomplished boxer. And I think the parallels there shouldn't go unnoticed either, in that Dylan would have very strong upper body, strong core, and would effectively be riding stronger finishes than guys he shouldn't have been almost straight away. So that's the one proviso with Dylan, in that he wasn't like this really raw, unfurnished individual who was coming in and had an awful lot of growth in him and was going to become amazingly better in the years to come, because I think he came in and he was already in great shape. But with all that put aside, everyone will agree that he's an exceptional prospect.
So prodigious,
very prodigious. But I think as you would have gathered there, his mentality is what, it's almost, if not, it's half the law really in this game, that, very, very grounded and conscious of the pitfalls that will lay ahead, but in a great yard, like to be riding for Joseph O'Brien, and that's a proper team. It's not like you're in a yard where every expectation and so much weight is on your shoulders. The weight is shared there. They have a huge team of work riders. To be riding with the likes of Declan McDonough every day, who decided to ride more with Joseph, ex-champion jockey, and I think Declan's probably found it a humbling and enjoyable experience to be riding with them kids as well, and getting on himself, imparting some knowledge to them. And then Joseph, who himself is exceptionally young, and wasn't that long ago a champion apprentice himself. He can tell him everything that can go wrong. But I just think he just has everything really as a rider and probably as a person, and I'm sure Mr. Well would agree.
Oh, we wish him all the very best and continued success, and congratulations obviously to everybody who's getting their trophies on Sunday at Naas, when the final standings will obviously be rewarded with the official trophy presentations. I should have, of course, said that is Naas on Sunday. He's got 3 rides in Dundalk this evening. If you're listening to us on the radio by the time this goes out at 8 o'clock on Friday evening, they will all have gone to post. I should have asked, was there a winner in the 3 of them?
You normally do. You let yourself down there, and Dylan probably will ride a winner tonight. I can't remember what he's riding, but he rides winners.
Sister Lola for James McCauley, Hightown Heights for James McCauley, and King's View for Patrick McKenna.
There you go. Three relatively small trainers. James McCauley's having a great year for Jim Goff and those horses. But Patrick McKenna, small yard as well, and that's a measure of the man. Like, he could stay at home and say, I'll leave it tonight. The flat season's nearly over. I'll put my feet up, but obviously not.
The Tote 10 to follow for the National Hunt season is now open for entries. You can pick your stable of horses to enter either the free or paid game, which has a guaranteed minimum prize fund of €100,000. Visit tote.ie to enter. We'll have more details on the Tote 10 to follow on next Friday's show, when we might reveal who we're picking.
Yeah, I'm going to put a bit more thought into it than the...
you got humiliated by Tom.
I wouldn't say humiliated. I was beaten by him. But I'm going to... Yeah, it was humiliation.
A distant second.
Distance. No, I'm going to put a bit more thought into it. Writing piece for Dara O'Connor's Irish Racing yearbook at the moment about Cheltenham last year, like 23-5 for Ireland, and just why this happened and so on and so forth. And when you're going into the 10 to follow, it's very hard now not to think, sure, I'll just pick Irish horses, because British don't matter, which may or may not be true, but kind of looks like I did a stable tour with Henry de Bromhead there the other day, and I was like,
you're dropping the names
well, I mean,
go on, yeah.
It was actually working. I rang him for a piece that I was doing on horses. Who's a name dropping for him?
Never mind.
Henry de Bromhead. I was like, holy crap, you have... Mr. Weld, you have some... Henry de Bromhead...
Has a world-class operation?
I would say he had... I did Gordon Elliott for him. Henry de Bromhead seemed to have stronger horse than Gordon Elliott, which is an incredible place to be. Where Gordon was odds on to be Willie Mullins to be champion trainer. Now Henry de Bromhead is in a position of unbelievable strength. And then you've Willie, obviously, who, well, Willie is Willie, so it looks like the three of them will have a lot of domination this season. And how the British trainers deal with that, I don't know.
Well, and we're going to see Paul Nicholls at Downpatrick this weekend.
Downroyal, yeah, but Frodon, with all due respect, Frodon ain't going to be winning the Gold Cup, and so this is kind of almost his Gold Cup, and I love Frodon as a horse, how would you not? But Paul Nicholls' artillery compared to yesteryear, it's just it's chronic, and I'm writing the piece, but there are a myriad of reasons, but it's hard to explain any one thing why there's just this massive fall in terms of their relevance in the racing picture.
So you don't see anything changing anytime soon? It'll be fairly similar next March.
No, I don't really. And I went into the piece saying, I remember last year the handicap for Irish winners versus British, what would you think it was at the start of the meeting?
7 or 8?
6, right. Or 7 actually. So that was based on fairly strong analysis of the betting of each horse per race, and putting that into your computer, and says, well, give or take, it should be around 6 or 7. So when it was 23-5, you're like, well, that's a massive anomaly. Yeah. But it turns out if you're the more you look into it, actually wasn't necessarily. So the British have changed their handicap system. They're not telling us exactly what they're going to do, but they're going to disadvantage Irish horses more. And you remember when Aidan McGuinness was on saying that he couldn't understand why it was a COVID thing where they stopped allowing low grade horses to run in Britain because they didn't want Irish horses coming over of a low grade because it was an unnecessary hassle during COVID. So the British training ranks just decided not to
let them back in.
Not to let them back in for no reason whatsoever other than that. Don't really like the Irish coming over here winning these races, which isn't necessarily backed up by the figures at low grade. So British racing at one level has stopped Irish horses coming over, and for no reason whatsoever isn't changing anytime soon, it would seem. And secondly is again tinkering with its own handicap system because Irish horses are winning too many races at Cheltenham. So there's massive insecurity over there, and it's founded. I don't see it changing anytime soon, short of them sorting their prize money situation.
Okay. All right, we should definitely get into that in the coming weeks and maybe get somebody on from the UK to defend themselves.
Well, if you're beating 23.5 at a festival, you should be comfortably winning. And it's all about prize money, as well as the fact that the whole animal rights kind of lobby and how they look at horse racing in the general British public is probably changing, and that is a challenge for them.
Okay. Anything else about Dan Royal this weekend that we need to look at?
On Valin obviously is back. Like the aforementioned name dropping of Henry de Bromhead, he hasn't figured this horse out yet. It was the one horse that he got last year with one of the tallest reputations ever in racing. Didn't work out. He was jittery at Cheltenham and he fell very early, and a lot of people would have lost good money on him. Absolutely bombed at Punchestown when presumably, though he was lame afterwards ever. But there's pressure on him, and it just hasn't worked out for Henry de Bromhead yet. But I hope and expect that he'll rectify that tomorrow. Okay,
so you think Envoyan's going to win?
Yeah, but like he'll be accordingly priced. But I think as a racing fan, you want to see a horse with his ability be able, either through nerves or through his wind or whoever, to actually show that he can do it. And for Henry de Bromhead to show that he's the horse that he was this time last year, when both he and Gordon Elliott probably had the world at their feet, and how things can change.
All right. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie. You can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Hopefully you're all, now that we're all allowed to go back to places, thinking about and planning to go racing. If you are, then make sure you visit the HRI website and get all your details in advance of going. And sure, send us your pictures and tell us your stories about what it's actually like to go back racing, because it's one of those great things that we've noticed in recent weeks where crowds are back and we're getting closer towards full houses, and it makes such a difference. We were all pretending that life was, this is okay, we're watching sport, there's nobody else, and now it's like, oh my god, it's chalk and cheese.
The racing show being kept on the road during COVID was brilliant, but nothing. I mean, Ireland without the Irish meant nothing to James Connolly. Sport without a crowd means very, very little relative to the buzz that you get when people are there.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week. Enjoy whatever happens. We'll talk to you then. Cheers.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.